So, Christopher, since our last counseling session, what have you been doing to be able to handle some of the stress that you've been going through?
Um, as you know, I have a big problem with taking orders from people or people not accepting my work the way I turn it in. So I'm kind of trying to deal with it. It still bothers me a little bit, but I kind of just, if I start to get angry or feel anxious, I kind of use this method. Somebody told me just count to 10 and it kind of goes away. And it helps a lot with my anger and whatnot. But on a daily basis, I get pretty anxious and it happens quite a bit during
Uh,
my work schedule.
Now, the side gig that you have was a drum tech, setting up drummers' sets and wiring and all kinds of mics and stuff like that. How do you handle that? How do you deal with that when people don't have it the way they want it set up?
I mean, it still to this day really teases me off when people don't accept how I set it up because, I mean, in the back of my mind, I know it's not because of the way I set it up, it's just because of their personal preference. But I feel like my work is just not good enough for them. And so it's kind of like a slap in the face for the work that I'm doing and them not to accept it. It's kind of let
Um,
down.
Tying into your work is also your school that you take some classes right now. How are those classes going right now? How are you been able to deal with those right now?
With my work schedule and taking classes, I just feel overwhelmed. And I think all of this ties together with me just being so unstable. I mean, all my time is geared either towards work or school. I have no time to relax or spend on myself.
How do you feel that you might want to get stable, to be able to get everything under control, to where it's a little bit more normal part of your everyday life?
I mean, I like to play sports. I may not be that good at them, but I like to play sports and just not having time to do anything. I mean, it really doesn't help. So I'd like to make some more time. I don't know whether from cutting my hours or taking less classes in school, but I need to do something to spend some time on me.
What specific kind of sports do you like to do? You like to run? Do you play any type of organized activities? Or
I really like to swim and play basketball. Those are my two favorite ones. Mainly play basketball.
how long have you been playing basketball?
I started when I was young, and I noticed that it helped with a lot of my anxiety and a lot of my self doubt and whatnot when I was younger. And so I feel like it would still help to this day if I had time to do it, but I just don't have time.
Now, being able to incorporate something that you've had since an earlier on age, playing basketball, you kind of dealt with, in our initial meeting, you dealt with some of the conflicts that you and your father used to have, him physically beating you and not telling you what to do, and you being able to find an outlet for that. Do you think basketball was that outlet, and why?
I know basketball was an outlet because I had to channel that negative energy that was directed towards me somewhere else. And the only thing I felt that I could immerse myself in was basketball that would take my mind off all the troubles going on at home.
How is it with the home life? How's that going?
It's still pretty hectic. There's still a lot of yelling and a lot of physical abuse. And I kind of just deal with it because, I mean, there's really nothing else I can do at the moment. I'm not in a position to make any other choice, but it's not the best of situations.
Do you feel like maybe getting out on your own, being able to get yourself into a better environment would be able to help you out, or do you think something else might need to be done?
I mean, I feel like getting out on my own would solve the issue, but currently I just don't have the finances or the resources or even the job to be able to move out on my own and still support myself.
Do you think maybe changing careers or maybe taking some classes to kind of better yourself would be beneficial, or do you think that those are something that you could do right at this time?
Yeah, I'm starting to look for some type of trade that I can go into that would be a short term in school and have a decent amount of pay so that I can kind of start my own life and kind of start over. Because I want to get rid of all the garbage that's in my life and I want to kind of start over and just start something new.
When you talk about garbage, what do you mean specifically in your life that's garbage? Obviously, everybody has their own interpretation of what that is.
I mean, but since I was little, I mean, between me and you, I mean, I've been beaten just repeatedly on a daily basis since I was probably 5 years old. And I mean, it gets old pretty fast, but I mean, I'm 23 now. So from 5 to 23, that's 18 years. I mean, that's a long time to be dealing with the same crap. And I'm just fed up with it. So I'm trying to figure out some kind of way to get out of it.
So not just physically, but he's also, you told me that you kind of had to deal with some mental abuse as far as thinking that you've never amounted to a certain
Oh
level.
yeah, he constantly puts me down, tells me I'm nothing, tells me I'm crap. I'll never amount to anything. I'm not worth anything. He wishes I was never his son.
So you kind of see a correlation or relationship between when you have that stress, say your drum tech job, where your father says you're not good enough, and the drum tech thinks that this is not the way it should be set up. You kind of see that there's a relationship there.
I mean, yeah, I feel that it ties into me not being good enough for him is them not being me not being good enough for them also. I mean, if I'm not good enough for him and he's my own father, then I can't be good enough for anybody else.
But sometimes being able to, communicate that with your job is totally different than what your father is. I mean, I don't know how your relationship is with your father now. Obviously, it's a little bit different. So how is it now? I mean, obviously.
Um, it's it's getting a little bit better, but that's just because I'm so busy with work and school that I really don't see him all that much. But I don't feel that he has changed. I'm just a lot busier and I don't have time to be around him.
Do you think you use work and school as a escape?
Currently, I feel like that's my only escape because I have nothing else going on. I don't have time to do anything else but work and school.
I think there's a couple things I would like to see if you could try to do between now and our next council session. I would like to see if you could try to incorporate maybe talking to, maybe getting ahead of some of the musicians that you're working with to maybe possibly see how they like their stuff set up. So when you're actually setting it up, you can kind of get a better understanding of how they do things.
Yeah,
What do you think about that?
that's a pretty good idea. I mean, because I understand they want to set up the way they like it set up, and maybe it would solve some of the problem if I figure out how they want to set up before I set it up.
Work-wise too, how do you think you could help yourself with that? Like maybe cut back on hours possibly, or maybe move to another department, or
I think I could cut back on some of my hours because I work a lot of overtime. I think I can cut down to just 40-hour work week, and that would provide me with a little bit more time for myself, and
and to
maybe it would help me
possibly,
unwind.
exactly, possibly be able to channel some of that tension and stress to another constructive outlet. School-wise, how do you think we can kind of combat that, like as far as like the stress there? I know you take some online classes as well.
Yeah, same thing with work. I just overdo it, and I immerse myself in work and school so much. But I think I need to pull back a little bit from both of them and just kind of spend some more time trying to find myself and figure out what I want to do with my life and where I want to go.
Okay. Well, let's see if we can try to work on those aspects for school and the two jobs that you have, and then we'll see how we can go from there.
All right, thanks a
Thank
lot.
you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Take care.